Tyler Warren is a beast, and Penn State is dominating Purdue at halftime here. And it's not like anything else was going to be expected anyway, right?
You are Locked On Nittany Lions, your daily podcast on the Penn State Nittany Lions. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And as always, thanks so much for making Locked On Nittany Lions your first listen and watch every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. My name is Zach Seyko. I am your host of this live show at halftime here, as we do routinely for these away games. Penn State is up on Purdue. And I like to go live a little bit before the conclusion of the first half, just to get the conversation started, right? So that we have plenty to talk about here. Penn State is up currently 21-3, is it, with about a minute, 11 seconds left. Purdue has the football. Maybe Penn State could sneak some additional points in, but the first half, for the most part, is coming to a close here. And there's nothing not to like about Penn State beating up on Purdue like this. They're the healthiest that they've been all season, aside from, of course, guys like KJ Winston missing, but Deni Dennis-Sutton looks great. Nicholas Singleton looks great. Anthony Donko, guys who have been in and out of practice, showing up on the availability report. I think that's the biggest key here, is that when you enter game 10 and most of your key players, aside from Winston and some other rotational backups, are either healthy or they're getting healthy. So that's the biggest thing here, is that Penn State is in a great standing as a team with where they stand in terms of the injury bug and everything else. And they're playing great, but it is Purdue. Purdue only has one win for a reason, and I see that they converted that 3rd and long there. So that's something. The two criticisms that I will, when talking about Penn State, that I've seen: tackling has been bad. Let's get that out of the way. Tackling has been bad. They are cycling some more backups in, so that might have something to do with it as well. But tackling needs to be shored up. And I just can't. I cannot stand when it's 3rd and long, right? It's different when it's 3rd and 5 and 3rd and 6. The playbook is still open for the opponent. But when it's 3rd and 11, 3rd and 15, 3rd and 20, and Penn State, it feels like more often than not gives those up defensively. I don't know what it is. Laps in coverage, they're not. I think blitzing is important. Now, they get organic pressure with the 4 rushers, but sometimes that still doesn't get after the quarterback quickly enough. And Purdue's moving the football still, but Penn State will go into halftime with a comfortable lead here. So thank you for joining the live show here on YouTube. Looking for your comments and thoughts and reactions, and we'll discuss them down below, of course. So looking to get your feedback just as much as you're looking for mine. Appreciate everybody stopping by for this. Drew Aller's been efficient. One incompletion, 13 of 14, 166 yards, 2 touchdowns to this point. The ground game averaging 5. Anytime the ground game is averaging more than 5 yards per carry is a win. Like those are winning statistics. If you can average more than 5 yards per carry on the ground, you should be winning any sort of football game. And Penn State's built that way. Penn State is built to a point where they can, the ground game and the defense are always going to be there. And then the passing game is much more efficient. It's difficult to stop. It's explosive compared to 2023. But now what Penn State is building around, Penn State is a run-first team. And I know they got the 5-star quarterback. I know what Drew Aller can do. But this is a team that has, when Nicholas Singleton and Katron Allen are 100%, you're playing both of them. The offensive line progressively is getting better throughout the season. They are much better compared to when they were in week 1 to where they are now. And that has to do with chemistry. That actually has to do, because these guys have not played a lot of time together. But Penn State will always, I always say this because that piggybacks off of what coaches and what people who have covered sports for a long time, particularly football, your defense and your ground game will go wherever with you. So if that's bad weather, if that's a road trip, I think about the college football playoff, and Penn State's projected to host in the first round, right? And it's going to be cold, frigid. Imagine right now. I'm getting way ahead of myself because Penn State still plays Purdue. They have Minnesota. They have Maryland. So forgive me if I'm looking too far ahead, but I expect Penn State to win all of these remaining games by double digits. So I'm going to talk about the college football playoff and them hosting as one of those teams. When it's 30 degrees and it's potentially a night game and you could have snow or just freezing rain of some sort, because it could be 35 and rainy, right? Not cold enough to be snow. And Penn State will have the defense and the ground game to offset those conditions. If you get a team that's pass heavy in there, high winds, bad weather, that's going to spell for trouble. So that's why you always want to start football teams. It is important. That's why coaches say the battle is won and lost in the trenches. Ground game is the most important, and your defense, because those travel with you everywhere. Your passing game, the same cannot be said. So Penn State building a comfortable lead. I mean, that's important because you need to get key rotational backup players into the game. True freshmen or anybody, really. I've seen Dakari Nelson in the game. I've seen Tyrese Mills in the game. Tamir Robinson. That's a defense specifically. I'm still looking for Trey Denmark and a little more of Luke Reynolds. Luke Reynolds is out there offensively, but seems to be more of a decoy. I mean, he's no Tyler Warren at this point in time, and Tyler Warren's unstoppable. Tyler Warren, I've been saying this, but I'm being somewhat serious when I say that Purdue could triple cover Tyler Warren. And I don't think they're prepared to stop him. I don't think they're capable of stopping him. Single coverage has been abysmal. They've tried man coverage. They've tried double teaming him. And he just finds a way to, Andy Kotelnicki finds a way to get him open, and Tyler Warren's able to get open on his own. 7 catches, 119 yards, and a touchdown. And him and Drew Aller playing hot potato with the football before he gets that long carry, right? Andy Kotelnicki is a creative offensive coordinator. Another takeaway that I can't help but go back to the Ohio State game, and I'm sure all of you feel the same way too, is that why are these plays being called against Washington and Purdue when you don't need them, but against Ohio State, nowhere to be found? So I don't know what gives. Maybe Penn State needed that learning experience to say, hey, we have to diversify our game plan a little bit more offensively, and that's fine. That's understandable. I just don't see why you need the hot potato. Let's see if we can get Tyler Warren open in a trick play against 1-8 Purdue. I'll give Purdue some credit. Like I said, the offense isn't the problem. It's the defense. Team doesn't play complementary football whatsoever, but the offense at least can do some things. I like Mockenby, the running back. Reggie Love is a nice compliment to him as well. That's a solid 1-2 punch. It's just that Purdue can't get into rhythm offensively, and then the defense doesn't get off the field quick enough to give them that chance. It's all across the board. Penn State's just the much more talented team. They execute, and because Purdue offensively has 166 total yards. That's not awful, but Penn State has 261. So they're clearly the better team here, but Purdue's problems aren't on offense. It's on defense. So they're moving the ball effectively, and they've only thrown to 2 receivers. One of them's the tight end, Max Clare. Max Clare. It's funny to me that the Big Ten has the 3 best tight ends in all of college football. Tyler Warren's number 1, and then over at Michigan you have Colston Loveland, and then you have Max Clare that's hiding at Purdue. He would get a lot more recognition if he was not at Purdue. That's the problem for them. I like what I've seen out of Penn State so far. Davian Collins getting into the game. Zion Tracy getting into the game. Antoine Belgrave shorter. That's good to see. He hasn't made the most plays statistically here. Alonzo Ford. And Alonzo Ford may be a key, not just a rotational player, an impact player down the stretch for Penn State. Alonzo Ford transferred in from Old Dominion, had the season-ending injury last year, and now is coming into his own. He just did an interview recently, and listening to him, he's all about technique. Alonzo Ford just gets it when it comes to technique, and he moves so well for someone who's 320 pounds. If it wasn't for Zane Durant and Devon J. Thomas existing, Alonzo Ford would be a starter routinely. But you can think of them as 3 co-starters in a sense at defensive tackle. And Penn State, to have that depth, to have that luxury, to have Alonzo Ford, finally, this is a breakout moment for him. Alonzo Ford, not enough good things have been said about Ford to this point, and and they should more positive feedback should come about when it comes to Alonzo Ford. He is a key impact player down the stretch if they can really get him going. Alonzo Ford combined with Zane Durant, Devontae Thomas, and I don't even want to forget about Keziah Izzard in this case, but those are four really talented defensive tackles for Penn State. And it's why this defense is top 10 in the country. They are a top 10 defense once again. It's not the same as Manny Diaz, but Tom Allen is coaching a very effective defense, very efficient defense in all realms here. But Penn State up 21-3 at the end of the first half. It's looking the way it should. I thought they could have had maybe one more touchdown because my final score prediction was 56-10. I thought they'd score 28 in the first half and 28 in the second half. So this is kind of what a 28-3 deficit made a lot of sense here. Purdue's fighting. I'll give Purdue credit. They're fighting. But Penn State is just that much better, that much more talented here. We'll be responding to some comments in a moment on the other side of a quick ad break here, but when we come back, we'll talk more about the first half, second half, and just overall how Penn State can continue to approach the season as it stands with Minnesota and Maryland still on the horizon. But they're cruising right now, and Penn State should remain in control of this one with the Boilermakers on the road. So we'll discuss more on the other side of this break. And today's live halftime recap is brought to you by Omaha Steaks. Nothing delivers comfort and joy quite like the unrivaled quality and taste of Omaha Steaks. This year, you can skip the holiday hustle and bustle and save 50% off gourmet gifts site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, get a $30 reward card when you shop early and score an extra $30 off with promo code COLLEGE. With 5 generations of experience, they constantly deliver the world's best steak experience. And the gifting experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to deliver the perfect gift with thoughtfully curated gift packages starting at $89.99. From legendary steaks to mouth-watering desserts and more, save 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners and viewers get an extra $30 off with promo code COLLEGE. That is COLLEGE, and a $30 reward card when you shop early. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com and an extra $30 off with promo code COLLEGE. Minimum purchase may apply. And today's live recap is also brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet just $5 and you will get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats view, live play-by-play, and so much more. And it's all on the same page where you place your bets. It's that convenient. It's that simple. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. And Penn State entered this game against Purdue as a 28.5-point favorite. And it's looking good for the most part for Penn State. Good teams win. Great teams cover, as they say. And the total was set at 50.5. FanDuel will have the odds for Minnesota and Maryland as well. And they have Penn State as still a chance. They have odds up for Penn State to win the Big Ten Conference, win the Big Ten championship game, as well as the college football playoff championship. If you like those lines, you can check them out over at FanDuel.com. And remember, you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win that first dollar bet. Again, that is FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Okay, let's get back into our conversation and check in over at the comments. Kyle, glad they missed the field goal. They didn't deserve it. Purdue. Like I said, I checked out a little bit ahead of time to get the halftime show conversation started. I wanted much time to chat with all of you before they get back into the game. Good to see Tamir Robinson and Dakari Nelson in together. Dakari Nelson, both of them they've looked okay. They just need more game reps. I can't say that, Dakari Nelson and Tamir Robinson are playing out of their minds, or this is the best game, this is the best footage they put on tape of them playing. They just need more game reps, because I thought Dakari Nelson was out of position. There was the one option play where he ended up staying with his wide receiver and he could have filled the gap and made a tackle sooner on the running back Maccabee. That's my only criticism of him. I will say Tyrese Mills looks really good. Lackawanna College transfer. He feels like, I think he's been at Penn State for it's been a long time. So Tyrese Mills' journey through Penn State has been a long one coming. And no, he hasn't lived up to the expectations that, I mean, Jaquan Brisker and Jair Brown set the bar pretty high when it came to safeties, defenders coming out of Lackawanna College and translating back into Division I football in the Big Ten. So those guys set the bar pretty high. But I like what I've seen from Tyrese Mills. He continually has his snap count increased. He seems like he's on the football field more, and he's flying to the football. So I'll give him an A for effort. He's not necessarily making all of the plays, but if he can become a key backup there that Penn State can trust down the stretch, he's a veteran, so he knows college football, right? That goes a long way. I like what I've seen out of Tyrese Mills. Need to see some more out of Dakari Nelson and Tamir Robinson, but that's why they're getting in the game early when it's consequential. The defense is porous and does not get off the field when they should. I said it earlier. I don't like, especially when Penn State has the 3rd and long. It feels like Penn State gives up too many yards that they shouldn't. It's the missed tackles, right? A 1st and 10 should be a 2nd and 9, and somehow it turns into a 2nd and 6, right? Those kinds of things add up. If Penn State can shore up the tackling and find a way to stop them on 3rd down, right? The third, 3rd and 4, okay, you give up a conversion, fine. But 3rd and 14, why is Purdue converting those? Why? When you have Abdul Carter's been quiet. Deni Dennis Sutton looks great, or Danny Dennis Sutton, as CBS calls him. But the pass rush has been okay because Tom Allen's not dialing up a lot of blitzes because he knows he can get home. He can get home with 4 rushers organically. That's why you don't see a lot of blitzing. Manny Diaz, different type of coordinator. He's just going to blitz no matter the situation. He just does. Singleton looks much healthier. I thought at practice leading up this week, I said to myself, man, Singleton looks as close to 100%. If he looks 100% to me, the way that he's moving right now, he might be dealing with bumps and bruises and stuff, but he looks a full go. He looks incredible. Honestly, he looks back to his normal self, even if he might be dealing with something. Let's go through the box score again. If you have any questions and comments, drop them in the chat. Penn State up 21-3 on Purdue. Defensively, Adavian Collins leads the team in tackles. He really good player, developed very nicely. Remember, he transferred in from Mississippi State. Jalen Reed had a stinger, left the game, and they made the comment about how KJ Winston was unavailable on the TV broadcast, and then Jalen Reed came back in the game the next couple of plays. So Jalen Reed's fine. It looked like a stinger. Zion Tracy, 3 tackles. Denied Dennis Sutton has 2 tackles for a loss. Dennis Sutton he's not racking up as many sacks as Abdul Carter, but he has been just as effective. Maybe not to the extent of Abdul Carter because, like I said, it shows up in the box score. It shows up in the stat sheet. But Dennis Sutton is right there in terms of analytics. I mean, tackles for loss. That's all that stuff's got to count for something. So he's not getting the sacks, but he's getting the tackles for the loss. He's in the backfield. He's making offenses adjust the play in real time. So even if he doesn't make the play, he's affecting the play. And I think that's important to always consider, even if he's not. Dennis Sutton hasn't had a double sack game like Abdul Carter. He's not getting after the quarterback. No, but he's affecting the game in other ways. Abdul Carter has 2 tackles for a loss himself. Quarterback hit, 2 tackles. Nice to see Antoine Belgrave shorter in the game defensively. Zane Durant rather quiet. Dom DeLuca had a really good blitz play. I've already given my thoughts on Tyrese Mills and Alonzo Ford. Keziah Izzard. Tony Rojas is getting after the quarterback a little bit. He's been dialed up in some blitzes, and he's not getting home, but he's affecting the play. And I don't think Tony Rojas and Kobe King have had their best games, but they don't need to. I think Kobe King's been great actually over the past few weeks. Kobe King's been dialed in. He looks like Penn State's best linebacker, as he should be, because he is the true veteran here. Let's go back to the box score and see if we can find anything else offensively that stands out. Drew Aller, the 1 incompletion, 2 touchdowns. I kind of leading up to this game, I figured that Drew would throw for 300 yards in this game because if Singleton was not, this was before practice too. If Singleton was going to be ruled out or he wasn't 100% and Penn State's still going to be cautious with how they handle him, Katron Allen is seeing more of the snaps, even though Singleton is getting the same amount of touches. He's the same amount of reps. 6 attempts for both of them, and Singleton has done more and has the one touchdown. Katron has the one receiving touchdown that they opened up with. So Katron Allen's been more involved in the passing game than Singleton, but it's really about the same in terms of the actual workload and snap counts. It feels like Katron Allen's been on the field a lot more. I wonder if we will see any of Corey Smith if this game really gets out of hand. I don't see why Penn State wouldn't play Corey Smith. Do not expect Quentin Martin in this game. Quentin Martin, I guess he was dealing with an injury. He missed a couple of weeks, practices, games, was unavailable, and then now he's back at practice. He's appeared in 3 games, so he will not play again until Maryland. That's my expectation. He will not play again until Maryland. Can we just focus on, in the second half, on throwing footballs to the wide receivers? I don't see why not. I was really looking forward to seeing Tyzer Denmark get involved a little more in the game plan. I thought he could have maybe somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 to 5 catches. I think you have to get him in the game. It's just the more the merrier at wide receiver. Because other than Tyler Warren, who's taking over games? Trey Wallace had one game, West Virginia, where he absolutely took over. The only receiver in this game, the only pass catcher that can take over for Penn State is Tyler Warren, and you need more than that. I'm not saying Tyzer Denmark does that, but he gives you another option so that it's not condensed to Tyler Warren, because maybe you can. Maybe you give him 3 games down the stretch here against Purdue, Minnesota, and Maryland, builds some confidence, establishes himself, because I will argue that Tyzer Denmark is one of the best, if not the best, route runner at wide receiver. And that's crazy to think. Trey Wallace, Liam Clifford, all the veterans. Tyzer Denmark looks just as quick and shifty in and out of his routes as the rest of them. So I love what I've seen from Tyzer Denmark leading up to this point, and I think he can be a rotational factor down the stretch. Somebody that makes a key catch in a big moment. It's not going to be often. It's not going to be often, but he can do it maybe in a couple plays here and there, because it's really the Tyler Warren show. Out of the 13 catches by all pass catchers, 7 of them have gone to Tyler Warren for 119 yards. 3 of them have gone to Katron Allen, running back. 1's gone to Nicholas Singleton, running back. Trey Wallace and Amari Evans, 1 catch for 8 yards and 1 catch for 2 yards respectively. So your wide receivers have 2 catches for 10 yards if you're Penn State. Get Tyzer Denmark into the game. Get him into the game. Let him see what he can do. Any more comments and questions before we wrap it up here? Penn State up 21-3 over Purdue. They're in cruise control. I would like to see them close this game out sooner rather than later, because getting the backups in, getting in Tyzer Denmark, Luke Reynolds, Cooper Cousins offensively, and then all those defenders. I'd like to see Max Granville, Jalen Harvey at defensive line. See if you can get an Anthony Specca into the game, and any of those really talented cornerbacks for them. I'm not talking about Zion Tracy, or defensive backs, I should say, because this includes a Dejon Lane. Dejon Lane was one of those guys that was also generating buzz alongside Tyzer Denmark, that they burned his red shirt for a reason, because they have a lot of belief in him, and he enrolled late. He was not an early enrollee, and he's playing like one. See if they can get John Mitchell into the game as well. Kenny Wosley Jr., all of those defensive backs, so that they can. Antoine Belgrave Shorter has been in the game pretty early in the second quarter here. That's what I want to see. I want to see reps from those guys, not late in the fourth quarter when there's 5 minutes to go. How about in the third quarter when there's 5 minutes to go? Get those guys in. Granville and Mayer. Max Granville, they didn't that was on purpose to get him to enroll early. There's a reason for that, right? Because he has all the potential in the world. And they're going to lose a lot at defensive line in this offseason. Abdul Carter, Dennis Sutton, Devon J. Thomas, Zane Durant, right? All those guys have played their way into the NFL. I know J. Thomas is out of eligibility, but you get my point, is that they're losing starters, they're losing depth. Alonzo Ford is out of eligibility as well. So the defensive line recruiting has been so important, and the fact that you can confidently say that Max Granville and Jalen Harvey are going to get reps down the stretch when they're true freshman defensive ends, that does not happen often. So that is really promising to see. Let's see if They do that against Purdue. Get those key reps. So again, Penn State leads by 18, 21-3. Thank you for checking out this live halftime conversation. Some takeaways. Appreciate you joining the conversation. If you're not already, become an everydayer. Subscribe to Locked On Nittany Lions on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts for the latest conversations around Penn State. It's all in full force. Football, men's basketball, wrestling. Coverage is all going to be right here on Locked On Nittany Lions, so stay tuned for more conversations around your favorite Penn State sports teams.